How's it going, gamers? This weekend, I dived headfirst into Squad's latest playtest for the upcoming 7.2 update. And let me tell you, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. While some may have glossed over it, I've taken the time to really immerse myself in this one. I didn't want to rush a video out after just a game or two. I aimed for extensive playtime to truly grasp the depth of this update. Beyond the exciting additions like the new map voting system, quad bikes and the formidable Striker MGS, what really caught my attention were the significant tweaks to the infantry combat overhaul mechanics introduced back in September 2023. Stick around because in this video we'll delve into those crucial changes and how they impact the squad experience for all of us. Now, as mentioned, there's quite a few changes within this build. They've adjusted the sway on the G3, FAL, SKS and the Mosin. They've adjusted the visibility of M16 and M4 carry handle irons. The iron sights and scope visual weapon bobbing have been adjusted to maintain better visibility whilst moving as long as your stamina is full, and the clear sight feature on iron sight weapons will now only activate after sprinting or jumping. It will not trigger simply from walking. On top of this, they are also in the process of adding in manual bolting to the Mosin, Timberwolf and SV98, and holding left shift now reduces your aim sensitivity. But if you don't like that, there is a slider to adjust to your liking or disable altogether. All of these changes are bigger than you think, but the ICO changes alone show that OWI is listening to everyone's feedback and responses. Right, before we deep dive into this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more squad guides, gameplay and updates. Over 86% of my views are from viewers who aren't subbed to the channel, so help a brother out, will you? With the infantry combat overhaul changes, to make life easier for you, I will be showing you a side-by-side comparison of various weapons so you can see much easier how they've been adjusted. And before we get into that, I'm telling you all right now, it is a step in the right direction. But where I want to start this video first is with the new map voting feature, because again, this goes much further than just a simple map voting feature. To get Squad fully ready for this, OWI has completely overhauled and reworked all of the layers on each of the maps. See, in current Squad, when you play a map, you'll see something like Balea RAS v3, which translates to the British Armed Forces versus Militia on the map Balea, and that in itself has its own lane in which the cap points go down. Each different version has a different faction lineup and variation in the lane. That's pretty much been condensed down to about 1 or 2 layers with their own variations per map. But to go with this, these layers and lanes have been built into the game so you can see them during the voting screen process, so everyone has a rough idea of where the objectives go. It's basically just like squad maps built into the game. Now, to go along with this, here's where things start to get really deep. Every single faction has been split up into alliances, as we all know. We've got Blue 4, Red 4, Pacific, and Independent. On top of this, every single faction now has from 3 to 8 different divisions or battalions. These 8 are as follows: Air Assault, Armoured, Combined Arms, Light Infantry, Mechanized, Motorized, Support, and Amphibious Assault. Naturally, all of these different versions come with their own focus, but not every faction gets all of the options. For example, Australia only gets Air Assault, Combined Arms and Mechanized, whilst the People's Liberation Marines get all 8. Now, all of these different base division categories come with a different set of assets that's based on their focus, but to further deepen the rabbit hole, what they get is also limited to whether they are defending or attacking. But for the game mode, such as Random Advance and Secure, they are always taken from the attacking pile. This is mainly to do with balancing issues for games like Invasion, where you'll find on some layers the defending teams don't have access to ATGMs because they're deemed too powerful. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into this just yet, as they are all subject to change, including making adjustments to weapons, roles, and even commanders' abilities. But to give you an example of what these divisions get, Air Assault gets 3 helicopters as default, with 5 jeeps, 2 logi trucks, 2 transport trucks, and a tank on a 20 to 30 minute spawn counter. They also get 1 extra ATGM per radio. Yes, you heard me right. That is 2 ATGMs per radio. Now, the armoured divisions get 1 helicopter, 2 transports, 2 lodges, 2 APCs, and 2 tanks. But where things get really spicy is the support divisions get 1 extra logi, the extra ATGM per radio, and they get 1 extra hab per radio. So regular factions can have 2 habs per radio like insurgents, but the insurgents get an extra hell cannon and militia gets an extra BM21 grad. Honestly, the spreadsheet OWI gave me, you could deep dive this stuff for hours and find loads of variation and changes. So because of all of this, all the maps have been tweaked to accommodate all of these extra units, including the helipads. Now the next restriction is biomes. Certain factions can only operate in certain areas. These areas are now Afghanistan and Central Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Northern Europe, North America, and Asia. Blue 4 are available everywhere, as are Red, with the removal of Asia from their area of operations. But factions such as Middle Eastern Alliance can only be found in Afghanistan and the Middle East, and militia only play in the European maps. Right, now onto the way that it all works. When the game that you are playing ends, you are greeted by your usual end of game screen, and after about 30 seconds of the usual mic spam and noise, it moves onto the map and game mode selection screen. Everyone in the server votes in this one, and server owners can set this to be a choice of anywhere between 2 to 6 maps. Next up, one team will vote for the faction that they want to play as, and the result that they choose influences the next team on what they get to pick. Again, this can be set anywhere from 6 options down to 2, and in its simplest form, that's how it works. Server owners do have more options though. We can choose how many rounds till a certain map, faction or game mode comes back in the voting options, so this should avoid playing maps like Yeeho twice in a row, for example. And to further add to this, there are 2 pools where the server pulls its information from. One is for high population, so basically when the server is full, and the next is when it's in low pop. So when the server is under a certain threshold of players, which is a really smart move, as you can set it to remove certain game modes or larger maps to accommodate for fewer players being on. There's nothing worse than playing a late night game of Squad and seeing the server pops down to 60 people and you have to suffer on a map like Kohat, for example. There's also the option for server owners to disable all of this entirely and just continue to use fixed rotations. But as it stands, there are currently over 60 different possible faction lineups, that then grows even further if you add in the division type differences too. Phew, that was a lot of information condensed down as best as I can, so I hope you managed to follow on. I know I've got a lot of learning on how all this works, so going forwards this is going to be quite interesting. Don't forget though guys, if you do have any questions about this, just ask away in the comment section down below and I will do my best to answer it for you. But now, I think we get on to the part that I think most of you are here for, and that is the changes to the infantry combat overhaul mechanics. As mentioned earlier, OWI reduced the weapon bobbing whilst walking with full stamina, and the clear sight mechanic is now only activated after sprinting or jumping. These clips on screen now show the comparison between 7.2, which is on the left, and 7.1 on the right. Whilst you can see that it still moves around, it's no longer an absolute train wreck. And with the fact that the clear sight no longer comes in by itself as well, makes it even better. You are rewarded for looking after your stamina. Furthermore, you're no longer punished for simply moving. Now look, I've never wanted to see the ICO removed. I love the concept, but I always felt it was overtuned and too extreme, especially for a game of this nature. And these 2 changes alone is going to make the game much more playable and hopefully remove some of the stagnancy from some of these rounds, as people would generally just dig in and not move for 80% of the game. I still feel like the maximum amount of bob or sway needs reducing slightly, as after about 30 paces or so, when you reach the maximum on your sway meter, it does start getting a bit drunk again. If that cap was lowered by about 10 to 15% or so, it would make you feel less drunk while still embracing what the ICO is all about. M16 and M4 iron sights are also much easier to use now as well. The reduction in bobbing and now a slightly more zoomed in look really makes these much more comfortable to use and just generally easier to see through. These tweaks are definitely what Squad needs right now and comes at a good time, because as each week goes by, I'm seeing more and more people complain about this. Even a lot of the people who were pro ICO at the start are now saying, yeah, this is annoying now, can we have some fixes please? And you just have to go to their Twitter account to see the daily replies requesting changes. And let's be honest, if you don't like these changes, well, you can always go and download Project Reality. Now, moving on, having tested a few machine guns and automatic rifle kits, I've noticed that they also behave a bit more friendly too, especially things like the M27 IAR and the RPK. Suppressing people with these is going to be much more effective now, and so will be hitting your targets should they present themselves. Yes, Squad is a team play based game, but at the end of the day it is an FPS at its core. We're all here to shoot and blow up stuff and have fun. Nothing sucks more than having an MG kit and seeing you only have 1 kill and 2 knocks at the end of the game, despite the fact that you suppressed half of their team for over 30 minutes. That doesn't even add into your teamwork score. Not that anyone pays attention to it, as you can just cheese this by standing on any objective. On the topic of clear sights though, it is much nicer to use as a result in the reduction of weapon bobbing, and on the M4s and M16s it is a lot more intuitive, and I can actually see this becoming a viable, useful feature in CQB situations. A bit of a win-win on this one. Now the G3 and battle rifle changes again are a nice step in the right direction. The reduction in sway has been a great change, it's just a shame that the Turkish MPT-76 didn't get caught along with these changes. The FN FAL is probably the weapon I really noticed the difference with the most. That is going to be quite a formidable weapon now with this update. My only complaint though is, and this is quite a picky one so bear with me, but it feels like the speed of the weapon moving animation is just a bit too fast. Like when you're firing it, it's jumping around, the animation's just a bit too quick. And that makes it look really extreme whilst firing. Oh, and the bloom on the iron sights is still too much. Look, all of this is just going to make Squad a much more enjoyable experience to play. It's not ruining the ICO, it's not taking anything away from it, and it's certainly not making it too easy. I've been playing Squad since 2017, and the way things are with the ICO currently just burns me out far too quickly, and saw me turning to other FPS games to scratch that itch. These changes are not ruining the ethos of the ICO, neither is it removing them. These are adjustments that were desperately needed. Yes, some content creators wanted to make it more extreme, but they aren't thinking long term and they aren't thinking about the average casual player. And despite being a content creator, I am a casual player just like many of you watching this video. I work full time, I have a family, and I only really get a chance to play Squad in the evenings. OWI can't end it here with the changes though. Bullpups need some attention as they just don't behave or handle nicely at all. And the pistol weapon handling is an absolute joke, and with suppression, the blur effect is still staying on for far too long, which is causing eye strains and headaches. And I still think the AT launchers can get a bit of love. But all of that is for a video for another day. However, I'm glad that they're doing things this way, in small, incremental changes, rather than just hitting things with a big old hammer. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to play with the MGS Striker, as it's only available on the motorized division for the US Army, nor did I get a chance to play with the quad bikes properly, but rest assured, these will be fantastic additions to the game. A couple of other changes that I had spotted was one of the helicopters has the door gunners adjusted so they now can shoot an almost 180 degrees, and in the audio menu there's a bar that shows your mic's input in real time. All in all, 7.2 is going to be a huge update for Squad. The ICO changes are a huge quality of life improvement, and then mix in the fact that with the new map voting system and sub-factions, it's going to really lift this game to a new level. What's your thoughts on all of this? And what are you excited to see next in Squad? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll see you in my next video, or in my server. Good night.